Greetings. This is the intro to the Human Geography 103 course for spring of 2026. Excuse me. Um, I recently retired, or well, partially retired, and I've moved just the last couple of months to Carson City, Nevada. So I'm no longer on campus. So I won't be available, on campus at all. Everything will have to be done, online. Um, Having said that, obviously you can contact me at any time through my email. I also have a website which illustrates the projects that I'm working on now. I haven't updated it. I thought I was going to get it done during the holidays. Haven't updated it yet to include the research I'm doing here in Nevada, but I will in the next week or so. So this particular class is one that we normally offer. It's tricky because these accelerated flex classes are handy. They get it, you can get a class done in a fairly short period of time. They're somewhat flexible in terms of time, but they really require good time management, especially if you're taking a bunch of classes, because everything happens real quick. I mean, you only have basically 3 months to get through an entire semester instead of 5 or 4.5. So, they require that you have very good time management skills and that you stay on task. If you're prone to procrastinating, you might want to, either think of alternatives or, check with our counseling center right off the bat so they can help you out since they're very familiar dealing with, time management issues. There's only one text in the class. This is John and Lisa Short's Human Geography. It's the new one, third edition, just came out, well, I guess last year. Um, Available online. I assume the bookstore has it, but also, you can obviously pick it up from Amazon. So that's the text. It's a good text. It's very readable. It's very short. It's about as good as you're going to get in terms of, a university level textbook for a class. In terms of the grading for the class, there's basically, let me see here. There's basically, three main areas that I grade on. The main one is critical thinking exercises. As we're going through different topics this semester, and I'll get down to it in a second, if you see something that's of interest, either professionally, personally, something that you find compelling or just, controversial, then think about doing a critical thinking exercise on that. Critical thinking exercises are a combination of two things. One is you have to have an opinion. You have to have some reason that you're looking at it, a particular topic, a particular issue that you want to analyze or present. But the key thing that makes it a critical thinking exercise is that you have to have evidence to support what it is you say. They're not opinion papers. You can go to Instagram or TikTok or anything, and it's nothing but opinions. In this particular situation, you have to back up what it is you're saying. If you're saying that I think X, then what's the evidence to support that? If you have citations, what do why should I pay any attention to what you've got to say? Think of it that way. So there's a rubric that I've got here that actually shows what I expect and how I expect you to get it, and also what frequently happens, how to lose points. So the critical thinking exercises aren't hard. They do require that you actually spend a little bit of time thinking about something that you want to do a paper on, versus just sort of knee jerking a paper. If you ask me what should I do a paper on, I'm just going to look at you blankly because I could, this is my area. I'm a human geographer, I'm a cultural geographer. I think a gazillion topics, most of which would be of absolutely no interest to you, and you wouldn't have the time to even get into them. So, asking me for, guidance is not a good idea. If you have an idea, on the other hand, then by all means, before you start on it, especially the first couple of these, if you have something that you think is worth taking a shot at, then be sure to contact me before you start on the paper. And I'll tell you, will this work? Is it maybe too big of a topic? Can you find stuff on it? And if I can, even where you're going to be able to find stuff. I want to help you through these, but I'm not going to write them for you. So be sure and think of a topic or issue that you find of interest, or at least willing to write a paper on, and then I'll help you. The last of these is the presentation blog, and think of this as like a larger version or a more detailed version of a critical thinking exercise, but with the idea that you would actually post it online. Therefore, you'd put it on Instagram, TikTok, whatever platform you like to use, and people would read it, look at it, and probably diss all over it. So, it has to have the same criteria as a critical thinking exercise. It doesn't have to be one of those. It could be something else, but the same criteria. You have to back it up whatever you're saying. So if people start giving you a hard time, you can say, well, here's the evidence to support my point of view. And of course, what you also say to yourself is, what's your evidence, versus your opinion. Again, no one gives a squat about opinions, especially in the social media world. Um, Critical thinking exercises require that you actually think about justifying your point of view, and that's why they're important. They're key to your professional future. The other thing that we do in this class, as in all my classes, and I just segue down to the schedule here, is reaction papers. I'll give you a number of videos during the semester, and what I want you to do is basically, when you watch the video, before you watch the video, read the questions. From the questions, then watch the video and then react to the questions, and that's your reaction papers. Reaction papers are not graded on length, they're not graded on level of detail, they're just reactions. React to the questions. And these serve several purposes. One is to give you a reason to watch the videos, obviously. But probably even more importantly, at least for me, they're an indicator whether you're keeping up with the semester. If you can't get a 15-minute video watched and a 5-minute reaction paper done, then there's no way in hell that you're going to get to the critical thinking exercises, the rest of the stuff of the semester done. So do them when they're due, and get them out of the way. They're a real good indicator of how you're going in the semester, and they're really handy if you're prone to procrastination. They're handy because you might be telling yourself, "Oh no, I can get this stuff done." If you're not getting the reaction paper stuff, you're not going to get this stuff done. Trust me. I've been teaching here way too long. So do them. Just get them done on schedule. You have a schedule here. It's not fixed, but I would suggest very strongly that you stay to it. Think of it as a fixed schedule, because if you can get stuff done in advance, that's great. If you get stuff done ahead of schedule, that's fine. It's a flexible semester. If, on the other hand, you start falling behind, you're going to be in trouble. And I can guarantee if you give me 3 or 4 critical thinking exercises the last day of the semester, you're going to get bad grades on a fair number, because I'm not going to be a happy camper thinking you just sat down and just knocked out a bunch of work without really thinking about it just to get a grade in the last part of the semester. It's not a good spend. It's not, as far as I'm concerned, it's a very inefficient use of my time to cover for the fact that you messed up time-wise. So get stuff done on schedule. Think of these as being fairly fixed. Though if you want to get ahead of them, that's cool. I'm all in favor of that. So the critical thinking exercises, the presentation blog, and the reaction papers, that's your stuff this semester. That's what you've got to get done. I've got it fairly sort of estimated in terms of how long it takes to get this stuff done. Don't take that as a fixed deal, but it should be fairly close. So that's the semester. And again, if you have any issues, in terms of questions, and especially for the first couple of exercises, be sure and check with me about a topic before you get started. If you're having time management issues, don't mess around till March. As soon as possible, contact the counseling center and have them help you, walk you through. They've got a bunch of very clever ways of dealing with time management issues, and they're very used to it. So, get their help. You're paying for it as part of your tuition this semester. So I think that's it. It's a very useful class. I think you find it a very interesting class. And so, let's have a good semester together.